My name is Honorade John Echo. I'm a cloud solution architect here at Reliance Info System, and I'll be running you through this session, which is Mastering Advanced Threat Protection Strategy to Safeguard Your Organization. And I'm going to start the session with everything that had to do with security for your M365 environment. It cuts across your identity security, your device security, your endpoint security, and the rest of that. Why my colleague Emeka will come from the angle of data security, where he's going to be telling you about things that you can use to protect your organization data and know where your data are existing or residing. Why the last speaker, Mr. Twamene, will be speaking on Azure security. So no matter where your infrastructure is based, whether on cloud, on premise, or wherever your data or anything about your security concerns, we are going to cover it for you. And because it will be three of us that will be talking about this, that we'll try as much as possible to keep it short so that we can keep you focused on this session. So I'll start with an analogy, and that is AI has come, and most of us, most organizations are skeptical why they should embrace the use of AI in their organization. But there is another serious threat why you are thinking about implementing AI to help your organization. Your users are busy looking for help to make the job easier for them. So, while you are still thinking whether to embrace AI, your users are already using AI from maybe applications or products that you are not aware of. And your organization stand the risk of losing sensitive data to applications or any other platform of AI that you do not know about. So that is why there is Microsoft Copilot. Copilot with Microsoft, you are aware that it is embedded with Microsoft products, and it is tightly integrated into all the applications and everything you do within your Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So, what are we trying to say here? Why you are making that delays in making that decision to embrace AI, your users are looking for help to make their job easier. So you should, at this point, think of embracing the Microsoft Copilot to help your employee to work better, more productive, save time, and save everything. There's also the threat from ransomware. Um, most people are working from home now. Most people are using their personal devices and everything. But how secured are these devices from attackers? How do you can assure you can maybe assure yourself that you have protected the organization device, but what about those personal devices that your users are bringing into your organization? Have you thought about it? Do you know where your data is? Whenever an employee is leaving the organization, are you sure your data still reside within your organization or it goes away with those data? There is also the threat of phishing attacks. Phishing attack has become more sophisticated that back in those days when you are being taught about threats that have to do with phishing, part of the things you are asked to look out for is a sign of grammatical error. But right now, applications are more sensitive to correct grammatical error. Now, if all these I have mentioned are on the rise in organization, you can see your organization can no longer rely on reactive security, more like acting after an issue or a compromise have occurred. You have to um, start implementing what is called proactive security. The growing attack surface from cloud adoption, remote work, and IoT increases exposure to breaches. Regulatory compliance also demands stronger security measures. Now, we are going to go deep into what we're trying to talk about. I've tried to make us get a background on why we need to be very proactive in protecting our organization assets, our data, our identity, and everything that had to do with our organization. So the CEO of Microsoft have also given us assurance that security is the top priority of the organization, and the organization is committed to working with others across the industry to protect customers from any form of threat. Now, modern day organizations need to be proactive about security due to evolving and sophisticated nature of cyber threats. And some of the reasons are: one, there is rising cyber threats, that is increasing ransomware, phishing, and zero-day attacks. Zero-day attacks are attacks that most of the antivirus solution are not even aware of. So more of them are coming, and criminals use advanced persistent threats to infiltrate systems. Another reason is that you need to meet up with your compliance regulation. Organization must adhere to framework like GDPR, HIPAA, ISO 27001, and NIST. Also, non-compliance can result in hefty fine and legal consequences. So, if you look at some of the reasons why you need to go through all this, data protection and privacy is one of them. Financial impact and of cyber attacks is one of them. Increasing attack surface is also there. Sophisticated attack techniques are also there. Supply chain vulnerability, cost of even the cost of sorry, I just skipped this slide. Even the cost of um recovering from an attack is also there. So why would you want to wait for an attack to happen before you start reacting to it instead of being proactive? Now I'm going to show you um, how digital transformation has stressed your existing security practice. If you look at the diagram we have here, um, it represents a connected digital ecosystem, possibly illustrating data flow, cybersecurity, or business intelligence. From the left-hand side, you can see how people can collaborate. Someone is not muted, please, if can help. All right. We can see how people can collaborate in the real-time world using SaaS applications, remote work, or let me pick my pointer, remote work, even working with partners or your branch office and the rest of them. And in the midst of this, you have your data moving around and artificial intelligence in place. Like I said, if you do not embrace maybe Microsoft Copilot, which is an AI tool that can help your organization on time, your users tend to want to look for solutions outside. They start looking for third-party AI solutions and start trying to get information from there, filling sensitive information into that. So looking at your files, your line of business application, your devices, your cloud and IoT devices, you can see a very good reason why you should invest heavily on security. Even across your on-premise environment, you need to also invest heavily on security. Now, we are going to be looking at this security in different angles. I'm going to be handling the identity and access management, threat protection, while my colleague Emeka will take the information protection, and Tuamene will be going for cloud security. So I'm going to start with Microsoft Entra ID. Microsoft Entra ID is an identity solution from Microsoft that can help organizations to protect their users' identity. It can also help to protect applications, protect your data from unauthorized access. It has secure adaptive access, which protect access to resources and data using strong authentication and risk-based adaptive access policies without compromising user experience. It also gives a very seamless user experience. I have not seen anyone complaining about using maybe multi-factor authentication or any other of the security, identity security to gain access to his or her system, and is having difficulty with it. Most times, people that have difficulty with them are people that may not have gotten the education on those solutions before they are being deployed. That is one mistake most of the IT um, administrators do. They just push solutions without um, giving users awareness, training them about those solutions. And you see someone in a higher level of the company, maybe a CTO or CEO, keep shouting, turn off this thing, and all that. I've seen where people try to protect documents and they just push Azure Information Protection to their users at once, and everywhere we turn into chaos. It's not done that way. Number one thing about security is user education. Give them value. Let them know why they need to adopt that security. Then you then push it gradually in batches so that the noise that you get is also going to be reduced. It also have unified identity management, which manage all your identities and access to all your application in a central location, whether they are in the cloud or on-premise, to improve visibility and control. And one other beautiful part of it is it has simplified identity governance. You can actually govern access to resources within your organization. Regarding securing adaptive access, we are going to be talking about the multi-factor authentication. Most of us are already aware of multi-factor authentication and we know what it is. It's just a second level means of accessing your organization resources. If it means that your password is not good enough for you to gain access to your account or the data in your organization or any other thing that had to do with your company resources. Passwords are the weakest link in security chain and a single point of failure without any additional verification. That's why we believe strongly that if you only do one thing to help protect yourself, it should be to turn on multi-factor authentication. And multi-factor authentication can be used with the Microsoft Authenticator app, which sends you a code and or can generate code for you to enter into your account and gain access to your account. You can also utilize what is called Windows Hello for business, which gives you access to use PIN to access your account. You can also use fingerprint to access your account, and you can also use Face ID to also access your account using Windows Hello, and you can closely link it with biometrics. Then the FIDO security keys are like hardware tokens that you can give to your users. You configure it. Without this key, your user will not be able to sign into his or her account, because whenever I try to sign in, he will be prompted to touch that key. And with this video security key, you can actually um, implement what is called passwordless authentication. Because an attacker that that have used maybe phishing means gain to get the password of your user, if you use something like this video security key, you can completely eliminate password. And if your users visit a site where they are asked to provide their password, they will not be they don't even know their password in the first place. Because when you are implementing this, you can actually implement what is called temporary password, so that when the user loses this device or loses his mobile device, you can issue a temporary password that can last for a period of time, and the user uses that to get access to his or her account. It uses push notification, SMS or voice, or even soft tokens in OTP in your multi-factor authentication, where it generates some sort of codes, and you can then enter that codes to gain access to your account. Next, I'll be talking about is the privilege identity management. Privilege identity management is one other beautiful solution from Microsoft Entra ID, and it is very critical for you to use it in order to implement what is called zero trust. It gives a form of just-in-time administration for an assumed breach at any time. So the way it works is that whenever someone needs access to a privileged account or needs a privilege to his account, for instance, somebody wants access to use Exchange Administrator to make some changes in your environment, or it needs the global admin access, you can actually configure this privilege identity management that at any time someone needs access, it can request that access. You can configure it that you can give the person the access for a period of time. Let me say, for instance, for 4 hours or 1 hour. And after the person gets that access stays for 1 hour and is revoked. Another beautiful thing about it is that you can actually use access review to go back and confirm whatever changes was made. So, for instance, you gave someone global admin access, you can go back and check whatever changes this person have made if an issue comes up. So that's one beautiful thing about the PIM, which is Privilege Identity Management. Next, I'll be talking about is conditional access. Just as the name implies, it gives you a set of conditions
This
for you
security
to
gateway,
gain.
we have Office 365. We have, depending on the department and the function, we have different.
All right. So just as the name implies, it gives a set of conditions for you to gain access to your identity, to your resource, or anything within the organization. So within conditional access, there is what we call location and user-based conditional access. Location in the sense that you can restrict access to a location. If, for instance, you are getting some form of access or attempt to sign into your user's account from maybe China or Russia or other locations, and you know that your users are located within a particular country, maybe Nigeria, Togo, or any other country, you can restrict access to only your country, such that if someone tried to sign in from any other location, it is going to block that access. For device-based conditional access, you can request that before a device gain access to your resources, or before someone can sign into that device, the device must be Entra ID joined, or it must be um, compliant in Microsoft Intune. So if you have something like Microsoft Intune for device management, you can set up what is called compliance policy, and you give conditions for a device to be compliant. So if that device does not is not compliant in Intune, you can deny access to that device. For application-based conditional access, you can also limit it to application access, such that anybody that needs to access a particular application, for instance, will either get a restricted access to that application or full access to that application. For instance, you want to access a Word document, it can restrict you to access the Word document only from the web, and you will not be able to download that document. This is for situation or scenario where users are bringing their own personal devices, and you want to set a form of control that people that bring their own personal device to work cannot download those documents into their personal devices, but they can only view and edit the document, whether in the in the app or on the web. So in that case, when the person gain access to that document, it will not get access to be able to download that document, but to just work on the document, save it. It's always in the cloud, and whoever needs access to the document will be able to gain access to the document. Now, risk-based conditional access had to do with your user risk and sign-in risk, where if a user is trying to sign in from a suspicious location or a suspicious IP, or the user have something like um, atypical travel or impossible travel, where someone have signed in from a location and within the next few minutes is signing in from another location. With risk-based conditional access, you can restrict those kind of signing, and you can set it to different level. There is low, there's medium risk, and there's high risk. You can decide to ignore medium risk, but for organization that wants to be very tight with security, they apply this conditional access policy to both the low, the medium, and the high risk. And whenever it is triggered and the user comes to you, you can always review it with the user and be able to see that the user is at risk. There's also a dashboard when it comes to the risk-based conditional access, the user risk and sign-in risk, where you can see your users that are at risk or that have sign-in risk, and be able to investigate and mitigate that. Okay, so this is just how conditional access is. It works with signal that come from your users and location, your devices, and your real-time risk and application, all that I've just explained. And it's with the condition based on if these signals meet up the criteria, they will be granted or denied access, or you can limit access, just like I've mentioned. And depending on what you have here, the person have access to the data. Now, let's talk about Microsoft Defender XDR. Microsoft Defender XDR is an extended detection and response solution for cross-domain security. So it's a very beautiful solution, and it integrates signal from identity, endpoint, email, apps, and cloud. And one other beautiful thing about it has an AI-driven um, analysis to detect and mitigate cyber threats. So one thing about it having an AI driven analysis is that it can automatically detect cyber threats and mitigate it for you. So some of the key features of this Defender for XDR is threat detection and response, where it identifies and mitigates multi-vector attack. It can also have automated investigation and remediation, which reduces manual effort with AI-driven action. It has a unified security operation, and it can correlate your incidents. For instance, on your Defender for Office 365, Defender for Endpoints, and other Defender solution. and it has threat intelligence to be able to um, use Microsoft Global Insights to prevent emerging threats. Remember, I talked about the zero-day attack. Zero-day attack are very, very key because most of the antivirus solution or any other security solution may not have um, add that in their database. So with AI intelligence or with that intelligence, you're able to now let's look at within the Defender for XDR, we have Defender for Office 365. Defender for Office 365 is actually a solution that can help you to mitigate some form of threat that comes to your user's email. If you look at this analysis here, it's telling us that phishing email have less grammar error, which is no longer the case. All right, because most people can now correct their grammatical error, formatting problem, and other size. That's where we have said that most of all these things have become more sophisticated. That organizations or users that receive such type of emails may not be able to tell if these are actually phishing emails. For ransomware, is actually a form of attack that requests um, money in order to gain access back to your um, business or your data in your organization. And for zero-day attack, like I said, these are attacks that are not yet really known, and there are other things there. Now, let's talk about the solutions that comes with Office 365, Defender for Office 365. We have the safe links, which help protect your users from clicking links that are suspicious. If a mail is sent with a link, Microsoft at the back end uses a sandbox technology to scan that link. They try to assess the link and see if there's anything suspicious about that link. If it is suspicious, the link is rewritten and the user will not be able to click to that link. For safe attachment, when someone sends you an attachment that is malicious, maybe have a malware or something, it's also same technology. It is opened and checked in a sandbox environment, and if it is malicious, this attachment will not be delivered to you. There are different ways you can configure that. You can configure what is called dynamic delivery so that the content of the email is delivered to you even though the attachment is being blocked from access. Then for spoof intelligence, it's as the solution here sort of like ensure that no one can try to um, act like he is your boss or he is somebody else in your organization and send a mail to you, maybe requesting for money or for anything which most organizations had made losses on. All right. So we are going to go next to Defender for Endpoint, which is a solution from Microsoft for protecting your endpoints within your organization. And it's also AI-driven security solution that helps organizations prevent, detect, and respond to cyber threats on endpoints. Some of its key um, can someone mute the person speaking, please? All right. Hello. Okay. Some of the key features of Defender for Endpoints is threat protection, which detects and block malware, ransomware, and other exploits. It also have extended detection and response and automation, which monitors endpoint activity and auto remediate threats. It can also improve your attack surface reduction, and it also have threat intelligence to protect your devices because it provides deep insight into security incidents. So this is one of the feature. I've mentioned a couple of it, but this is the attack surface reduction, where it can help you to protect your organization on that. Now let's look at Defender for Identity. For organizations that have Active Directory on premise and they are syncing their identity to M365, you can actually use Defender for Identity to protect those identities that are on premise. So one of the key feature of Defender for Identity is that it prevents what is called lateral movement. Lateral movement is when an attacker gain access to your organization, and after they gain access, they will not strike immediately. They will not attack your organization immediately, but they start understanding your organization in the background. And when they see a weak point, they will use that to strike. Sometimes they gain access for 3 months, 6 months, they don't do anything. But when they see that weak point, then they try to um, launch their attack on the organization. And some of the key capabilities of Defender for Identity is threat detection, which identify abnormal behavior and lateral movement, identity protection, real-time alerts, and it also integrates with Microsoft Defender XDR and other SIEMs or SOAR solutions. I'll be talking next on Microsoft Intune, which is a device management solution. Microsoft Intune can be used to manage devices in your organization. Remember, we have concerns about people bringing their own personal devices to work and working on organization data from their own personal devices. And we don't even know what happens next when that person leaves the organization or how those people manage those data when they are not within the organization space. Now, with Microsoft Intune, you can manage your Windows device, your Android device, your iOS devices. You can fully manage them, or you can just manage the applications in them. Managing the application in them, that is when you are managing BYOD devices, people's personal devices, because you cannot fully manage somebody's personal devices and restrict them from access. So you can manage the application within those devices so that whenever your organization information are within those devices, they can be protected. Some of the protection you can apply to Microsoft Intune is you can prevent copying from your managed application to other applications that are not your managed application. You can also push applications to devices. You can create what is called configuration profiles, which is likened to what you call GPO in your on-premise. And also, if you have AD on-premise and you also have Microsoft Intune, you can decide to choose if Intune should be the one that is pushing up, that is managing policies in your organization. So that is when you can configure it that Intune will be the priority when it comes to pushing applications or doing anything. You can tightly integrate Intune with your Defender for Endpoint, meaning that if you have already had your devices in Intune, you can automatically onboard them to device Defender for on-prem and also monitor and create Defender for endpoint policies from within Intune. So that is how beautiful Intune is. And you can also use it to optimize a productive hybrid workforce. Your IT teams and every other person that needs to have visibility into devices. For this picture you have here, you can see all your devices. You can also use it to track devices that are not compliant within your organization and restrict access to those devices. So, like I said, you can integrate it with your Defender for endpoints and be able to push policies from here, like you are pushing Defender for endpoint policies. Last, I'm going to be talking about, I think I've overshoot my time, is Microsoft Defender vulnerability management. This is one other powerful tool that comes with the Microsoft security. And the way it works is that it can do an analysis of your devices within your organization. When it does that, it checks your devices against the best security standards and give you a percentage and also give you recommendation on things to do to improve that device security posture. Most times, most organizations will make deployment, security deployments on their devices, and they don't even know if they do it correctly. But with Defender for Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management, you can actually track your configuration, analyze it against the best security standard, and be able to build in their in the recommendation provided and mitigate whatever loopholes you have in your device security. So that's how beautiful it is. And if you want to ask yourself why it matters, it reduces your attack surface and improves security posture proactively. So that's where proactiveness comes in. You don't have to start running around because you have been hit by ransomware, but you can actually proactively use something like Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management to track your device um, states and be able to mitigate where there is lapses. You can also see how it strengthens security. For the asset discovery, it automatically discover your assets and inventory, and it also have real-time vulnerability assessment, threat intelligence based prioritization, and so many other things you can see on the screen. I don't want to um, shoot in too much into the time, but my colleague Emeka will come in. Maybe we can have one question or two. Let's have like two questions before Emeka comes in, so that when Emeka comes in, you won't forget the question you have. Then at the end, we'll have more questions. So just two questions. Is there anybody hand that is up? My moderator. Two questions, please.
Hi, I'm Tunde.
Yes, Tunde. Good morning.
Thank you for the session. Very
Yes.
informative. I could relate with some of a lot of the subjects that was showcased, and
Okay.
because I know that a lot of those features depend on the license that you have,
Sure,
and
sure.
yeah. So, but we moved to Microsoft Business Premium recently. Not recent again, anyway, but. So I'm trying to, so there's a lot to absorb with Microsoft security, and there's a lot to absorb in tune, like you've shown all those
Yeah, sure.
categories. So there's so and at the point when you enter into Microsoft security interface, you see some kind of is it, I don't know if it's the intra or the security interface. You see like a score for your security
Yes.
posture. You see a
Yes, yes.
score. I've been trying to improve that score. I don't know what is the best score that you can have.
Okay.
I've been trying to increase that score to a more higher number, but at the point, I think when I did the, what's it called, use Microsoft security to default settings. I think the score was a little bit higher, but due to some reasons for some devices, I had to take it away from Microsoft default, because I have some devices that I can't access. The user cannot use those devices because of those default settings. So I had to like remove it from default so that but there are a lot of recommendations. There are so too many that it's hard to even keep up with all those
Okay,
things. So I'm trying to.
let me just quickly answer that so that maybe someone else can still ask. But you can still ask for more clarity after it. So secure score, if you look at secure score and the improvements plan that you have there, you're also going to see a column that tells you if you have the license for that. It will tell you yes or no. So that is one. Then two, security is extremely dynamic. All right. Meaning that every day, new solutions to protect your organization is coming up because attackers are not sleeping. They are also looking for new ways to be able to um, launch their attack. Security is also looking for new ways to prevent those attacks. All right. So when you are trying to improve your secure score, I've not seen any organization that have gotten to 100. That is it. Yes. So, but you also look at the fact that some of the license, you may not get it. You may not have those license to improve that score to the level you want. So, in order for you to be able to improve to that level, you have to look for that license or that subscription you need to be able to improve it. Because with this subscription, you can then be able to configure that improvement plan and increase your score. But I've seen an organization that is up to 85% though. So why I'm saying that you may not
Without
be able
using
to get
Microsoft
up
default.
to, which no, you use Microsoft. No, security defaults, yes, that is for basic security that comes with Microsoft to protect your organization, right? But there are other things. There is your data security, there is your application security, there is your identity security. There are so many other things that you can do to improve your score. They are all listed in the recommendation. So maybe we can continue the discussion on that, not to take his time. If there is any other one question, so that Emeka can come in, please. One. Or if you want to keep it till
Okay,
after the session.
I have
Okay.
another question. The XDR for
Mhm,
endpoint, do
mhm.
you need to do anything else on the user's PC to have it fully functioning and securing the device, other than the user
Okay.
signing in with the?
Okay, so you need to onboard those devices to Microsoft Defender for endpoints.
And that's
All
at the
right.
back end. Do you need to do
Yeah.
anything else?
No, 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 no. You don't need to do any other thing. So when you push it to the device, there's always a Microsoft Defender that comes with every device. All right.
Okay.
So more like I've forgotten the name to use now, is deployed to that machine, which now utilizes the Microsoft Defender for endpoint that comes with the device to protect
So,
the
so,
device.
so one more question. The director usually asks me, is Microsoft endpoint uh, enough to secure a device?
Extremely enough.
Okay.
Let's continue by the end of the session. Emeka, you can go ahead, please. Sorry for the time.
No worries, no worries. So thank you so much for the insights you've shared. And just buttress on Microsoft defense vulnerability, right? That feature is an unsung hero, right? Why Microsoft doesn't have a native vulnerabilities like a pen testing tool, right? With your Microsoft vulnerability management, you can have real-time scans, right, to look out for misconfigurations or just something that is, what's the best word to use, misconfiguration, and just a setting that is anomaly, right, that shouldn't be there. So you can use that as your Microsoft Defender for vulnerability scanner, right? So data security, right? If there's anything that we've learned so far in the past 3-5 years, is that the security cyber attacks are getting on the rise. They are becoming more cunning, more sophisticated, and committed, right? So Microsoft basically is also a step higher, right, when it comes to securing your data, right? It's important to understand that Microsoft is also introducing new features to help organizations protect themselves and their data. For instance, Microsoft has rebranded Microsoft Purview, right? The information is previously the Microsoft Information Protection, right? But now new features has been introduced, and those features we'll see as we proceed, right? Purview today is simply your security and compliance platform, right? It will also help you with governance in terms of, okay, give me a moment. Sorry about that, just give me a moment. Okay, Daniel, you have a question or you comment, please feel free.
No, no worries, it's a mistake.
All right. Just give me a moment, please. All right. Sorry about that. So let me know if you can see my next slide. All right. So basically, here are the solutions present in Microsoft Purview, right? We have quite a number of them, but we'll just focus on these two. They've been categorized into risk management and compliance. By my left, then towards my right, you have unified governance. For risk management and compliance, right, that will help you with your IT security and data protection, your regulatory compliance for business purposes, then also legal, like just ensuring that the retention period of data for business use is properly managed, and you have a platform that helps you to track those particular retention and how you dispose business data, right, based on your regulatory timeline that you have in your industry. For financial services, it's 7 years, right? So for features in Purview, right, you have information protection, right, whereby you classify your data, and you also have, based on the criticality and their sensitivity, then afterwards you're able to leverage data loss prevention, which will help you to identify the sensitivity of that particular business data set by the data owners, right? Then you are now able to prevent data loss. You need to classify, right, and detect. Then the DLP now comes as a countermeasure, right, just to follow up with your information protection. Then you now have data lifecycle management. Data lifecycle management just about your retention, right? How previously the name was Microsoft Information Governance, but Microsoft has introduced some new features into this. Then data connectors, right? Just ensuring that you're able to bring in data from different platforms, and you're able to track and manage and govern those data here in Microsoft Purview. So I won't dive deep into this because there are separate slides for this, so I don't take up your time here. Then we'll also be discussing data maps, data catalogs, and Azure data estates, right? So you can see how you can make more sense of your data in Microsoft Purview. Okay. Moment. Okay, so protecting your data, first is important to understand this quadrant, which is the bedrock of data security, right? You have to know your business data, right? You also need to understand the way to protect your business data, which comes from classifying the data, applying labels, and applying markings. That's basically information protection. Then you now go to the next quadrant, which is preventing unauthorized access, accidentally sharing, right? This basically DLP will come into place here because you're able to ensure that the CIA quadrants, there's no unauthorized access, data is not modified at any particular layer in transit or at rest, nor is the data accidentally shared, right, which is always availability, and you're able to be proactive. Then governance, right? Governance speaks to retaining data and deleting it in a very compliant manner that aligns with the business needs. Top data security risks, right? 83% of organizations once in their lifetime has experienced a major data breach, right? That figure is alarming because that is 8 of 10, right? Then this basically tells us that data incidents are widely spread. You also have 4.18 million US dollars as at the time this research was done. That was 2023, right? Being the average cost of malicious insider risks, right? Which is basically about 20% of data breaches, right? This is just a fragment of that particular total cost. Then you also have 80% of business leaders highlighting that they purchase multiple tools just to meet the same compliance and data protection needs. For instance, I spoke to a customer yesterday. They had First Point for data protection, right? They also had Microsoft AIP, right? You don't need that mix and match, right? Microsoft Purview is your one-stop shop, right? Whereby you are able to do the DLP, you are able to do the information protection and all the whole interesting features previously highlighted on my right and my left. Okay. So basically with this, you are able to do more with less, and you eliminate the fragmented landscape whereby you are monitoring Microsoft, you're also monitoring First Point. You're able to just focus on one solution and harness the benefits from the Microsoft Purview. So your organization, right? Why do you need to know where your data is residing? It's basically you need to know this to understand the life cycle of your data, which will help you to protect your sensitive data. Then also, you now have the context helping you to identify risks, right? There's an interesting feature that Microsoft has rolled out that is in Purview. It's called adaptive protection, right? Basically put, this is using machine learning to categorize risks when it comes to data protection. Our story, you have Emeka and Echo, right? We want to print out a file from a printer, right, that is connected to our network, right? Then you now see Echo gets a mail tip, a policy tip rather, stating that this file contains confidential information, right? Provide a business justification to print that file. Echo goes ahead and provide that business justification and is able to print that file. Whereas Emeka, on the other hand, right, was blocked from printing that file. Why? Adaptive protection, right? So this context here, what happened is Emeka has loaded XYZ amount of file. He has performed exfiltration, right? He has gone to SharePoint and he has downloaded possibly business data that is alarming, right? Based on the volume, right? So the adaptive protection assigns Emeka a higher level of data security risks. So previously Echo was on moderate, but me now I've moved from medium to high, right? So please, that's one interesting feature you need to know. And once that machine learning, the adaptive protection, assigns that risk, it's then basically prioritized and offers stricter data protection. It allows the IT team to focus on more strategic things, knowing that your solution is doing the job and is supporting you to meet your business goals. So the next is organizations needs to know how to prevent unauthorized access, right, based on users, applications, and services, right? With adaptive control, that is adaptive protection, that's a game changer. So that's one thing you may want to take out from this webinar, in addition to all we have said. So key insights, right, regarding safeguarding your data. This quadrant just speaks to protecting sensitive data and preventing data loss and managing insider risks across your emails, your shared storage, your Teams chat, even ensuring like you can restrict USB flash, right? Just ensuring that you have proactive mitigating controls to eliminate risks or to ensure that the risks are put at the level that the organization can tolerate, right? So I will just move on. And this is Microsoft Purview information protection. We are familiar with this, I believe. You can see the sensitivity label icon, right? Basically, this helps you based on the classification of your business data, what you have identified as personal, public, highly confidential, and confidential. With information protection in Purview, you are able to discover and classify this data. There's also the automation part of things. What you just need to do as IT professional is not on you as a custodian or as a system owner to classify those data. You just need to handhold the business owners, right? The business process owners to give them the classification labels, right, that are available, right? They might not know, but if they know, great. But just handhold them to create labels, right? Then you are now able to move from the manual assigning of sensitivity labels to documents and confidential information to the automatic and automated way of doing things with machine learning, right? Which is more you leverage your trainable classifiers and other information. So it's important you do this now because AI is changing things, right? As my colleague Echo made mention that if you don't adopt AI, your colleagues and your employees rather would use third-party AI tools, which pose a risk, right? So it's better when you adopt it, then you are able to control access using information protection, DLP, as the case may be. Then also safeguards, right? Throughout the life cycle, it's important to understand that once encryption is applied, right, Microsoft has a very strong algorithm, right? You currently use the 128 key encryption, and also depending on the file that needs to be encrypted, we can move it a notch higher to 256 encryption algorithm key length, right? That's just to tell you that your data is very, very secure, extremely secure with the Microsoft encryption whenever you use that particular encryption, right? Then you also have the extended protection across multiple platforms, right? That's where your data resides, right? That is Exchange, SharePoint, and Teams, right? Your OneDrive for Business, those particular data can also be classified. Insider risk management in Purview. I think this is one of my most interesting feature, right, in Purview, because of the rising number of inadvertent employees or just accidentally sharing and oversharing of data can pose a data breach to the organization. So basically, with this insider risk management, there's something we call pseudonymization. What that does is, if you want to hide the name of a user, but you want to find out not just the user, of all the whole users, but you just want to find out the activities being performed by users, right? By marking their name, but identifying the activity, you can turn this pseudonymization on, right? It will mark the identity. You don't see the identity during your search, right? Then you can see who is performing exfiltration. You can see who is doing XYZ, right? Based on the indicators. There are several indicators. For instance, there's an indicator whereby a user is leaving the organization. You can see what the user is doing across all of his 365 workloads. If a user is moving data from their OneDrive to a personal storage, or if a user is accessing SharePoint and performing exfiltration, or if a user is just going to download emails, right? Just activities, there are indicators that you need to identify that this works with, right? So basically, if you also want to see the names, right, of the users, it is possible. So we have hidden risks, right? And we also have indicators. Those indicators track these hidden risks, right, that you may not be exposed to, right? And no endpoint agent is required, right? It's just basically you go to the insider risk management, then you are able to create these policies which track on these indicators and gives you alerts on who's doing what. Then you are also able to expedite mitigation, right? It's again, you can see adaptive protection that I made mention coming in here, right? Okay, so data loss prevention. Data loss prevention. This is not new, but Microsoft has basically refined the way things are done in terms of data loss prevention, right? The cloud native inbuilt protection in Microsoft 365 apps, your services, and your Windows endpoints. Basically, with leveraging on the information protection classification, you're able to protect your data across the M365 apps, the Windows endpoints using DLP for endpoints, and also your M365 services across all the whole workload. It's important, right, to balance productivity and data protection. That is where adaptive control also is a game changer, right? It helps you to apply that stricter control based on actions done by the users, right? Just that's very, very key, right? Then like I said, this leverages your information protection classification that you have already defined, right? So how do you improve risks and your compliance? Basically, now we're speaking about strategy to retain and manage your business data based on regulatory and business purposes, right? Do you know, these are questions that you may just want to reflect upon, right? You might take a screenshot so that you can review this later. I'll just hold on for a moment while I speak, right? Do you know where your, do you know what your regulatory requirements for your organizations are across your IT, your legal, and your finance, right? Do you know where this data resides that's requiring retention, right? Do you have established guidelines, right? That's best practices in terms of information lifecycle of this data that's been created through for disposal, right? Data lifecycle management, formerly known as Microsoft Information Governance, right? So basically, this Microsoft Information Governance helps you to retain and delete your business data based on the timeline you have defined, right? Basically, it helps you to manage risks and prevent productivity loss. So if you are defining a retention period of like about 10 years or more, 7 years or never delete, yeah, with your data lifecycle management in purview, you're able to mitigate any risks as regards to data security. Then also it demonstrates compliance. It gives you that when you're performing audits, right, it can help you showcase that, okay, I use Microsoft Purview as a solution to meet my data retention business objectives, right? And also there are data connectors that are non-Microsoft that you can integrate, Bloomberg, Twitter, just other places whereby your organization's data might reside. I think there are about 72 of them at the moment that you can integrate to data purview. Records management. See records management as a platform, or rather a console in the Microsoft Purview, where you are able to manage your legal and your business critical data, right? This is different from the data lifecycle management, which addresses retention, right? With records management, this focuses more on the legal perspective, right? If you want to now showcase or perform an audit, right, you're able to now manage and have your labels properly defined for legal use, right? So you don't mix up the two. Lifecycle is strictly for data lifecycle is strictly for assigning the retention for those particular data. That's why record management is for your compliance posture in terms of legally meeting your retention of your business data, right? Based on the timeline of your industry, right? So that's the difference. So communication compliance. So today, we are all driving diversity, inclusion, and equality, right? So you might have challenges while you drive this, right? Or your HR might just reach out to you, like, sure that I'm able to get communication compliance, right? So I know what users are saying. That could be an harassment, that could be threatening or adult contents, any word that shouldn't be used in the office corporate environment. You can leverage communication compliance. So what this does is, this is a playbook, right? You have policies whereby you can inject like this words that your HR will share with you, right? That they don't want to be present in Teams chats, in your email, in across the M365 services, right? Teams Exchange and Viva, right? Basically, those are where you are able to detect this violation. Just to repeat that, Teams Exchange and Viva Engage, right? So it will detect, right? Then this violation, you can remove those violations from Teams messages, right? So that's an interesting feature you may also want to know. How does this work? Again, you have like a plain book, like whereby you create a policy, you add those keywords into that particular policy, just clear text. Once you do that, it just goes into the conversations, Teams Exchange and Viva Engage, and detects them, then it can retract them, right? Just then basically an alert is sent just to let you know who did what, right? You can send that alert to the HR. Then you have so that is an very intelligent way of just ensuring that the workplace is sane and everybody is respecting each other, right? E-discovery. So there are two flavors of e-discovery. There is the standard and there is the premium. So the e-discovery basically like is a hold. You are preserving content for legal purposes. You want to be able to ensure that while a legal conversation or legal suitcase, a law suitcase is ongoing, you're able to put a place, like a placeholder. You just hold that particular content. You are preserving it so that you are able to reference future requirements, possibly by law, or just ensure that somebody doesn't remove or delete any record or file inadvertently. Then okay, near deletion. So with e-discovery, right, you have the option to search using the what's it there's this query language. I'm trying to recall the word KQL, right? You're able to search, right? And basically how this works is you're able to search for a user to say what, in a sentence, what near 5 did Emeka use credit card information. You can also use credit card and NIN, right? National Information Identification Number. You can put those two and say what near, could be in 40 sentences. Just you can just say, okay, near 40, near 8, just being specific and saying you want to detect where Emeka has used credit card and NIN, National Information Security Number. It will scan the email and it will give you that result. I mean, this is business data. It could be forecast. You could say, where has Paul used a marketing forecast and XYZ, another word, just it will go to the mailbox and just search, right, and give you that intelligent information. This is your audit, right? Your audit search. Basically, we are familiar with this already, so I would not expatiate more on this, but this is your tool that you can use to audit items across emails and just friendly activities that's been done, and you can also leverage PowerShell to do this. Purview data connector. Let me just expatiate on this data connector. I mentioned data connectors, right? Yes, okay, there are 73. I earlier mentioned 72. There are 73 built-in connectors, right? Bloomberg, Message, Slack, e-discovery, right? Zoom meetings, WebEx. You can integrate your data from these particular platforms into Purview, so as you are able to govern your data. Then it also applies to your e-discovery hold and your retention, right? You can hold data in this particular other platforms, right? It's seamless and easy to deploy, just to make mention. And compliance manager. This is one feature that I would say no data security platform has been able to adopt this or have this available at the moment. See compliance manager as you are preparing for ISO 27001 compliance assessment, right? You want to get the certificate, or you're preparing for need cybersecurity assessment, right? Or it could be GDPR, right? Or in NDPR in Nigeria's case, right? They are basically different checklists that you will be audited for Microsoft, for Azure, for M365. Basically, what we are saying here in Compliance Manager is you can create an assessment in this platform. When you create an assessment, right, it would help you address those checklists, that how is your right standing in comparison, right, to the ISO 27001 assessment. How is your right standing with the ISO 27005 assessment and any other assessments that you need to get done? There are quite a lot of assessments already pre-built, right? They are configured out of the box. So if you have this purview, you need to explore this. It's a very, very interesting feature that, in addition to adaptive control, is something you should take home with you today, right, for your data protection and compliance needs. I would, due to time, I would just getting to the end of it for me before I hand over to my colleague, right? This is how it is integrated. This is the big picture of Microsoft's data security and compliance, right? You can integrate with Google Workspace, Work Now, Salesforce, and other platforms, right? You have your Defender for Cloud app also imputing signals to your information protection. You have your information protection scanner, auto labeling. You have your Azure Purview data map, right? Giving you insights to your data from the Cosmos database in Azure, your SQL DB in Azure. You also have your insider risk management. The MP there stands for Microsoft Purview, right? Microsoft Purview Insider Risk Management. You also have your DLP for endpoints, right? Your Windows 10 and 11, your Mac OS, right? From 10.15 and upwards, right? So this is the bigger picture. You can see Exchange, Teams, and SharePoint, right? DLP. So without further ado, I will move on. Okay. Let me know when you have. Just keep your questions handy so I can also take one question similar to my echo before I hand over. So this is Azure, basically. This is data in Azure. How you're able to have like a graph data map, right? Just to give you a view of your data assets, which is the bedrock of your configuration management and your data security. You need to know your asset, because when you know your asset, you're able to identify risks associated with those assets, right? And you're able to run scans, right? Then you also have data catalog. Data catalog here, you help you to discover, search, and browse your data based on the curation, right? And also gives you like a visualization, right? Data estates in Azure, right? Within Azure, right, will give you visibility into understanding your data management activities, just the health of your data real estate. Let me use that word. Okay, these are just scenarios, right? Purview governance, right? Why? With all I've said, it's important, and we already know why, right? It gives you end-to-end seamless data discovery and data security compliance. Yes, with e-discovery, you have that. With seamless integration with M365 and Azure, yes, we use M365 and we use Azure services. That integration is seamless, and also it's multi-cloud friendly. Then scalability and security, right? This meets your enterprise needs, yet also meeting your small and medium-sized organization needs. Then it's simplified management. This console is how do I put, is positioned to help you do more with less. That's just the right word for you, right? You don't need to start using other platforms whereby you have Purview and you can successfully do more with less across multiple platforms. Use case of data protection and compliance. See this scenario. A global organization needs to manage sensitive data across multiple regions and comply with local data privacy laws. Solution: using Microsoft Purview to classify and label sensitive data, ensuring compliance with privacy laws. Excellent outcome: enhance data visibility and reduce risks of data breach by streamlining compliance reporting. Right. I'll move on to the next use case. This use case is about financial services firm need to protect confidential client data such as account details, NIN, credit card information, transaction history, and investment records. Solution: Microsoft Purview is used to classify, label, and encrypt those sensitive financial data while ensuring that unauthorized personnel cannot access that sensitive data. How? Limiting it to the encryption, like the only user that has been assigned access would have access. What's the outcome there? The outcome is the firm reduces the risks of data leakage, right? Based on the principle of need to know, right? And ensuring that the compliance with GDPR and PCI DSS, right, is in place. So at this point in time, this scenario speaks to accidentally oversharing of sensitive data. This is a healthcare scenario, right? So for healthcare organizations, you have HIPAA protecting health information. So the solution here basically is Microsoft Purview DLP. Please, can you help me mute? Yeah. Microsoft's Purview DLP data loss policy, right? Basically preventing and automatically blocking that oversharing of sensitive health information, which is compliant with how HIPAA, right? This is another DLP in place. Let me just wrap it over on this slide, right, before I hand over to my colleague to work us on the final portion, the last leg, right? So this scenario, a retail bank, right, handles sensitive, significant numbers of financial transactions and needs to protect sensitive data leakage, right? Solution: Microsoft Purview DLP policies, right, just to block the sharing of credit card information across emails, your teams, and services. Right? This is something we do, and this is a very, very intuitive feature that you need to have in place to prevent oversharing of data. So the bank, okay, the outcome here, the bank ensures financial transactions data, rather financial transaction data is protected, right, and by mitigating fraud and ensuring regulatory compliance. So before I hand over to my colleague, to any question for me, or do we wait towards the end?
Please let's wait towards the end so that we just have the questions all together.
Excellent. Termini, over to you.
All right, thank you, Emeka. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'll be taking over from where my colleague stopped. And can you confirm you can hear me, please?
Yes, I can.
All right, good, thank you. I'll just turn on my camera. So. All right. Share my screen a bit. All right, kindly confirm if my screen is visible. Hello?
Hi, Tuamina. Yes, it is. Please go
Right.
Yes,
ahead.
it is.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so we'll be talking about cloud security models. Now we're strictly into Azure security, right? Now in Azure security, there are different levels of security, and different. When I mean levels, we mean different means of different ways of achieving what you want to secure, basically. So now I'm going to explain. We're starting with Azure Firewall. Now the reason is we're used to the firewall environment. We're used to the on-prem firewall. We're used to, the basic ones that we know. Now, in as much as there's firewall on-prem, right, there is also firewall on Azure. Now, what does the Azure firewall actually do? Now, I'm going to go to the basics for those you might not understand what firewall actually is, right? It's more like I'll give it a brief example. Now, look at it as let's say you have a security guard um, right, on ground for all your network traffic that is coming in and going out, right? And this security guard is currently in your cloud environment, right? And this is exactly how the security guard directs the kind of traffic that comes in and goes out. Now we're going to deal with Azure Firewall. So I will not be telling, I'm going to explain, don't bother about reading too much on the screen, but I'm going to explain the best way you can understand. Now, in this essence, right? Now, why is it important for us to use firewall? Now, the thing is, the cloud firewall is actually different from the traditional firewall that we know. Now, the traditional firewall require if we know that traditional firewall require some kind of manual maintenance where you go to the office, the parameters, plug in these, maintain, and traditional firewall do not scale effectively, right? So, but now we're looking at scaling in dynamic cloud environments, but your traditional or manual firewall will not do that. Now, the thing is, Azure Firewall being more like a cloud native firewall eliminates all the challenges of you scaling manually or doing everything by yourself. Now, this is an automatic scaling security process. Now, in terms of automatic scaling, it scales your traffic effortlessly. Now, it enforces all kinds of security policies. All these security policies are done automatically inside of your Azure premises, right? Now, before we come to the cost effective, I'm going to let you know that one of the benefits or some effectiveness of Azure Firewall. Now we're looking at apart from giving you centralized network protection that protects all your resources in Azure or your network in Azure, we're looking at what we call a thread-based. Let's look at the thread-based filtering. Now, in terms of that, in simple terms, is that it blocks all your traffic and every kind of malicious sources that comes in to your Azure environment. And this is done effectively, like in real time. And when I mean real time, I mean as the traffic, whatever threat is happening, it is actively blocking it. Now, in terms of integration as well, Now, this firewall that you see here can be integrated into different things, into your Azure Sentinel, your Defender for Cloud. But as the time goes on, I'm going to explain those other processes. Now, what we talk about cost effectiveness. Now, in terms of your manual on-prem firewall, right? It is not cost effective like it is in Azure. Now, your manual environment firewall on premise, you can look at this architecture. It's what Azure firewall does in terms of security, how you can see traffic being denied and traffic that have been accepted into your environment. So it stands as a blocker in the middle to direct you to direct the right traffic to the different places that is needed. Now, in terms of I was explaining in terms of cost effectiveness, right? Manually on your environment, you might be doing a lot of tweaking, buying a lot of things to upgrade the firewall. If my firewall on ground is like damaged with something else, I have to replace it. I have to find a way to upgrade it. I have to upscale it. Now in Azure, it's a different case. This is cloud native. It's actually provided by Microsoft right in there. Now the thing is, it keeps on its own automatically, and it is powered by AI. That means it can effectively detect all kinds of threats. And not actually detecting it, it's helping you actively direct traffic that is needed for your environment, and keeping all those extra noise out of your environment, right? So that is like both the advanced threat protection and active traffic guiding and monitoring as well. So it's a pay-as-you-go process in terms of pricing. You're paying for what you use at that time. You're not looking at a fixed price or fixed budgeting, licensing fees and all. No, it's a pay-as-you-go service. Once you install it in Azure, you get to start using it. You're paying for what you're using at that time. When you're not done, you can decide to stop using your Azure firewall, and it's very easy, simple as that, very seamless. All right, so the next thing I'll be going for, we're looking at, so looking at the firewall business cases. Let's say the terms, when do I need to use firewall? For cloud security, for remote worker, for those who are securing hybrid cloud environments, right? And then we have centralized management for multi-branch enterprise. So you have all of these business cases. Let's say you have remote workers working. Now everyone is working remotely, especially in the tech firm. And now firewall is going to help you provide all kind of access. When I mean access, because when you log into, some organizations actually have like an active firewall on their environment. So when you're logging in, we already know the traffic that is designed to access a particular kind of inbound or outbound traffic through the environment. So it's already been configured. It can be configured for those who work remotely, so that we know that only licensed traffic to come into my environment. And now we're also looking at security hybrid environments. What kind, let's say you operate both in the cloud and outside of the cloud, right? So this helps the connection between both your on-prem data centers and also your Azure environment to make sure that traffic is passed or transferred between these environments seamlessly and are protected effectively and actively at the same time. Now we're looking at the part of large enterprise where we have multiple branch offices, departments. All of these can use Azure Firewall, regardless of what your work kind of work kind is, right? You can utilize firewall for all of this, and it gives you consistent security in your organization on every side, right? So now another thing we would like to look at is Azure DDoS protection. Now, if we're in Azure, right, I think like you cannot really preach sometimes we're looking at security without avoiding the DDoS protection. Now, if you're wondering what DDoS is, this is a distributor denial of service. Now without reading, I'm going to explain a bit of DDoS. Let's look at DDoS as like we have what we call DDoS attacks. That's why we have Azure DDoS protection, for protecting those attacks. Now, if you can agree with me, you can agree with me that DDoS attacks, right, is one of the common cyber threats that we have today in our environment. We're looking at attacks that flood your applications with massive amounts of traffic, that floods your websites. For those of us that shop online, or we own e-commerce websites, right? Now you can have a DDoS attack that can flood your applications with massive amounts of traffic, right? Now, what this does when you have those kind of flood on your traffic, what does it do? It causes downtime. And when it causes downtime, you have service disruption. Now, your service is going to be disrupted for those legitimate users who plan to use your applications or use your website. In that case, you have a downtime. They cannot reach you. They cannot buy from you. You cannot make sales. You cannot do anything. You can attend to customers or clients. Now, what this does is that now this is where Azure DDoS comes in. Now, what does it do? Now, let's think of I'll go back to the point of like a bodyguard again, like I started talking from the beginning. So let's look at these DDoS as like a bodyguard. Now, this bodyguard is strictly for your applications, right? In the sense that it's going to automatically, without you telling it, it's going to automatically detect whatever botnets, is also going to mitigate all these attacks. So it's not only detecting the attack, right? It's helping you stand in front of it, defending it, and let's say taking a bullet for your applications as well. So what are like the benefits of using DDoS? Now, if you look at this architecture, I'm going to explain before I move. We have like the internet, like I explained, public traffic coming into your applications through your web. It stands in front of it. Before it comes in, you have the web application firewall, you have the application gateway, and then before it gets to your app service, where your websites are being hosted in, your databases, all of this. So this is more like the first line of protection before it comes into your environment. Now, it takes me to why will you want to use a DDoS protection, Azure DDoS. Now, with this not being here, but I'm going to explain. Now, firstly, one of the benefits is because it's an automatic deployment. It works automatically. Now, in the sense, you don't need to manually intervene or any kind of manual intervention, right? It detects and responds instantly before you can even say anything else, before you can find out for yourself. It has already responded to those threats. Now, one of the key things we have to understand is adaptive learning. Now, if you're going to be using Microsoft or Azure, which I believe that you already know the benefits of Microsoft, is that one of the key things is that it use let's say no security resource or service. It's not backed up. There is no one that is not backed up by AI or ML, right? Everyone is backed up by by AI or ML. So the thing is, with AI, it helps you what we call adaptive learning. Now, in adaptive learning, it's the case that it actively learns your environment, right? It understands what a normal traffic will look like on a normal day, and it also understands what a non-normal traffic will look like on a normal day. So what it does is that it studies the normal traffic patterns, right? And also helps you to reduce any kind of false positive that might come in. So it knows that this is normal and this is not normal. So everything is normal. It has studied the pattern, in an adaptive way, behavioral way, and then adapts to it. So adaptive learning. So it knows when to come in to protect and knows where to, avoid from giving you noisy alerts, right? So that's one. One of the things is like costs in terms of protection as well, right? So let's say if an attack, like I explained, I'm going to give you a basic example. If there is an attack falls on your infrastructure, right? Now to scale up. Now the thing is that Microsoft actually gets a way that you can have, if you communicate with them in a way, they can help you resolve this in no time, right? And in that case, it's helping, you're not doing any kind of infrastructure cost yourself, right? This is being taken on by Microsoft. If it passes what we can or they can detect, they already have support cases everywhere, and they can tell you, hey, we are going to jump on this and look into it. So you do not actually harbor any kind of infrastructure or cost when there is an attack or a DDoS attack coming in, right? It helps you. So in this case, being able to let understand Azure Firewall and the DDoS protection. But we're going to look at business cases. We're not leaving that out. Let's look at business case use case for DDoS protection. Now, protection for your web applications, right? Like I mentioned, e-commerce or kind of platform, right? It comes in and it helps you. Let's say you also have your financial services like a banking system, or you have a banking system, DDoS is like an active way. DDoS protection is one of the key things that is needed in terms of that. Let's say for governments as well, for government and public sector security, DDoS protection is validly needed, necessary. These are like very necessary things. So those, if you have a gaming industry or any kind of media industry or resilience, right? Online gaming platforms, it can happen, any kind of attack, so long as all these are public facing platforms, right? It is going to be open to DDoS attacks. Now, the only way that we can prevent this, if we do a counter, protection, if we are protecting it against these attacks, and then having something that is going to be facing it and knowing that these attacks are going to come, and anytime that it comes, I'm available to protect it. And also, not only protecting it when it hits, I'm detecting it before it happens. So it's like I said, it studies the normal thing and then knows when to, get it. Like when it knows like there is kind of like a misfit in your environment, it comes in to protect it and mitigate it for you. So that's how DDoS, Azure DDoS protection works. All right, so I'm going to go into Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Now, this Defender for Cloud is a cloud security posture management tool, in the sense that it does not only defend your cloud environment, it also helps with your on-prem environment and also your multi-cloud environment. So let's take it as a tool that helps you to protect every hybrid environment that you have. Now we're looking at Azure hybrid and other cloud platforms. What I mean by multi-cloud, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. Yep, you can bring all these cloud environments into Defender for Cloud. So in the sense, this helps you to now in an environment where you do not really know how to navigate around, you do not know how to, know the kind of things you should have, the kind of protection you should have. Now, these things have been put together by Microsoft in a way that it will help you to know when there is a fault in the environment. Now, it helps you to know when your security is low, which I'll call that secure score. I think I'll explain in the next slide. And it helps you to give you recommendations on how you can tighten your security. Now, you're not doing this by yourself, but it's helping you already analyze your environment. It analyzes every resources that you have, every kind of service that you have in your environment. And not only does it stop at that, it then goes further to, detect, it gives you security alerts if there anything that is happening, and also helps you protect every necessary service. So in Defender for Cloud, you can bring in, like I said, your on-prem environment, your servers, you can bring them inside of it using Azure Arc, which is service for hybrid connectivity as well. Now, in terms of knowing what you have, it uses the same AI and ML. Now, in this case, it's bringing data you can bring in your VM virtual machines, you can bring in your databases, you can bring in your applications, every other thing, ingest or integrate them into Defender for Cloud. Now, if anything is going on, it gives you protection. You have a security alert before any kind of threats. You have like, there's a point where you get to know that it is building your infrastructure or your environment for you. It gives you recommendations in order for you to pattern it in a way that you can see that my secure score or my security score has gotten to a level that I think or I fit my environment to be tight enough or strong enough. So it doesn't leave you alone to do your work. It is basically helping you or your security team to build a stronger security and helping them to do the work for you. So 80% done on Microsoft part, 20% on your end, because you're coming in to monitor and just do the necessary things, but it's helping you to detect, mitigate, structure, and pattern your environment. All right, so let's talk about post management and workload protection. Now, what I mentioned about CSPM, I say cloud security posture management from the beginning. So security requirements, continuous assessment, secure, defend, right? And then we have, on the other hand, we have Defender for Cloud Solutions. Now, these are things I'm going to explain. So continuous assessment is that It does not stop. It does not just access your environment, give you a one-time monitoring time or monitoring effect. It continuously accesses everything that you have. So the moment you have this in Defender for Cloud installed, it gives you continuous assessment. So it's monitoring, accessing your environment. If there is any kind of abnormally, any kind of anomaly that is there, it will help you to fix it. Now it's giving you alerts for you to also know that this is what's happening. So if you have a different way of fixing, or if you want to restructure your team or dedicate it to your team to know what and what to do, it is, giving you that option as well. Now, secure, it gives you good security in the sense that it's assessing and also giving you security as well. So securing your environment against any kind of threat that will come in, and also helping you to defend. Now, let's say this has already happened. What do I do? It needs to defend it while it's in process and while it's happening, right? So secure score is more like giving you an overview or summary of the kind of security that you have in your environment. Summary of let's say if your secure score is 25%, it's very low. So it gives you recommendations, security recommendations that you can use to boost your secure score. So when you look at your secure score, it is more like a determination of what you have, how good your security is, how bad your security is, or how medium it is. So it gives you secure score, security recommendations, like it does not leave you alone to do the work. It helps you with recommendations. So in these recommendations, you are actively looking at things that you can change in your environment. You're actively looking at things that you can restructure and pattern to give you best fits for security. And I mentioned security alerts as well. You are actively seeing alerts, and these alerts are there displayed broadly for your team to see. So maybe you can download those alerts. It left to you. You can download the alerts and then go to a board with your team and look through it. What are the pattern of alerts that we're receiving? And the high, so it doesn't leave you at that, right? In terms of alerts, it gives you high priority level of alerts, low priority, and medium. So for higher level alerts, you can see it tagged there in code red, and it's tagged high priority. That means you need to visit as soon as possible to know what's going on in your environment, right? So it brings me to my next post, right? Posture management and workload protection. In terms of posture management, workload protection, it enhances visibility, right? It gives you visibility to everything that is being put into you, Defender for Cloud. So in your Defender for Cloud environment, you have active visibility. You're seeing everything happening. You have an insight into things that you yourself cannot find, right? So it gives you visibility. It hardens your guidance. So hardening your guidance, you have the recommendations to give you a hardened guidance on how you should navigate and how traffic flows, or how the things you should do and what not to do, basically. And also visibility and strengthening goals as follows in terms of generating secure score, which I explained, and also providing hardening recommendations, which I just explained as well. So three things you can get from this: it prevents, detects, and responds to all kinds of threats that comes in, so long as you have Defender for Cloud enabled. So in that case, Microsoft will only, like I said, the cloud mostly is pay as you go. So whatever you put in your environment is what you're going to pay for. So whatever you enable is what it's also going to help you protect. So if you don't put on Defender for Cloud, if you do not enable the security practices or this services or solutions, you will not get the full benefits of the cloud. So that means if you have a cloud on your environment, you have a cloud environment, you have to enable this for you to get the full benefits of whatever we are preaching here today. Otherwise, you will not see them if you do not use them. Right. So this is what recommendation looks like. So this screenshot here gives you more like everything in the cloud, like the Defender for Cloud portal in the cloud. But I'll come to these screenshots and explain to you in a way. So let's talk about enabling policies. Now, my colleague once talked about regulatory compliance policies as well. So in terms of policies, we have policies that are Defender for Cloud, that we have recommendations for that policy. So let's say you have the ISO 27001 running, the HIPAA and all those policies. Your organization abides by these policies. right? It's going to enable recommendations that fit into the policy that your organization works with. So it's giving you recommendations, streamlining it to those policies, because deep down there is a CSI benchmark that you're meant to meet, which I believe that is tuned to meet your environment. So if you have that kind of capability in your environment, it can be tuned in to fit into what you use in your environment. Now, recommendations are grouped by severity, like I mentioned. Severity in terms of high level severity, low level severity, medium, so high, medium, and low severity. And it covers your networks, your containers, your app services. I mean, just name them. Most of the services, majority or all the services that you actually use in Azure can be found inside of Defender for Cloud. So now you might not use all the services, but every service that you want to use is advisable, or really I'd highly advise that you bring them into Defender for Cloud for active monitoring and visibility and security protection. Now, in terms of remediation, now remediation improves your secure score. So whatever security alert you get, and the more you remediate, the more your secure score improves. So let's look at the picture here. Now, if you go into Azure, this is what your Defender for Cloud looks like. This is what your portal looks like. So in talking about secure score, you can see here 60%, which is more like, a kind of high secure score, because there might not be whatever they are using in environments is fine-tuned to suit this, right? So you're having a 60% secure score, I think you're good, you're on a good side. Because now look at it. We have you can see here, it shows you 2.4K on healthy, not applicable, those that are unhealthy and those that are not healthy. So it also gives you recommendation based on 27 recommendations. So these are the recommendations I'm talking about. So if you go to your controls, you can see remediate vulnerabilities, enable encryption, apply system updates. Now, the good thing about these recommendations, right, is that whenever it gives you these recommendations, you're not just reading it. Now, if you click on here, like a drop down, you're going to go into it and it's to tell you how to utilize the recommendations. Let's say for remediate vulnerabilities, right? It also gives you, if you click further, it tells you the servers that needs this vulnerability management on. It tells you where you need to remediate. It tells you the servers that you need to click or enable MFA on. It tells you the things that need endpoint protection on. So it's not leaving you for you to find out yourself. It's helping you, guide you through to walk it through so you can find it together and do what's necessary for your environment. So this is more like a picture of it. And the good thing is you can download it as CSV or reports. And probably if you're not in the cloud, you do not want to, you want to take it to your team and discuss, you can just download the reports and align it with your team and discuss how best you can table these recommendations to suit your environment. Yeah, so basically how the secure score, which we've talked about here, and it gives you a snapshot of your current security situation. And like I can not overtell you how much secure score is important, because the overall secure score helps you to give you secure score from every of your environment in Azure, from your different subscriptions and that you have every other places. So you can see one subscription has this security level of and then this other subscription has this percentage of security level. So you're having different subscriptions. Let's say you have 5 different subscriptions. You have 3. In this case, we can see 2 different subscriptions. So it's giving us secure score based on the 2 different subscriptions that we have. So either you can see subscription 1 has 67, subscription 2 has 78. So if subscription 3 has 25 or 20 or 10, it means that something needs to be done on subscription 3. Right? So that is like the importance of this Defender for Cloud. Now this takes me further rather to Microsoft Sentinel, right? So this is a CM tool and security information event management system, right? And it's not just the same as well. It's more like it's a SWA, because it gives you security orchestration, automation, and response. So it's not only checking, investigating, events in your environment, it's also helping you to automate and respond to those threats. Now let's look at this. What is Sentinel? What does it look like now? Sentinel, what it does is that it picks information from and picks up data rather. Let's put it in simple terms. You have your servers, you have your firewall environment, you have your let's say different endpoints, actually routers, switches. You have all these environments in your on-prem environment. You have it on-prem, or you have it in the cloud, wherever you have it, right? Now, so long as you ingest it in Sentinel, right, we can always pull logs. Now, logs are like data we fetch. We can pull in data from those environments and monitor it right inside of Microsoft Sentinel. So it's not just the Microsoft thing alone. Microsoft is helping you to bring in every other third-party tool that you have. So let's say I want to monitor what goes into my FortiGate firewall, my Sophos and others, right? It's in Microsoft. I can decide to do that. I can just go to my Microsoft Sentinel, get a data connector that speaks to what I want to bring in, and then ingest those logs. And then I'm giving high from all of these connectors. So it's not like you can do just one. You can actually bring, so long as you have those connectors, or if you don't, you can bring as much as firewalls that you have, as much as routers you have, as much as switches that you have. Now we can get all those informations all from Microsoft Sentinel. So you can keep clicking from one place to another to see from, it's more like a single pane of glass, right? And what we call Sentinel, we call it a bird's eye view. So because it's overall looking through everything that you have, and if there is any kind of threats, any kind of incidents, it helps you to manage incidents. And not just managing, it helps you to respond to those incidents and threats management, right? So it's the same solution because it can drill down furthermore to investigate what is going on. And it gives you like a workbook environment where you can see everything that is happening. You can see who logged in. You can see, let's say for Office 365, which is common for our usage because we definitely a lot of us we use Office 365 to manage our environments are the case. So if you have your if you're talking about Office 365, definitely we're looking at a lot of identity management. We're looking at your Entra, we are looking at your sign-ins, we're looking at every kind of data, right? Both from your SharePoint management and the rest of them as well. Now, all these can be seen on who accesses different documentation, when, who opened, and let's say a particular sign-in. You can investigate sign-in logs, you can investigate audit logs, you can investigate any kind of threats that you seem like you want to tune into. Now, Sentinel does not limit you to things you want to do, right? It gives you an open way for you to bring in things to your environment. Now, this is also like I mentioned, third party, right? So if you look at it, Sentinel has a lot of data connectors. I think over 200 data connectors, right? It's more than that. So I said over 200 just to give you a broad view, like, okay, you have so many data connectors. Now, what are data connectors? Data connectors are the different data points that you can bring in. Let's say those data points that connects you to your endpoints, right? So let's say Amazon Web Services that you can see here. Let me point to it. So you can see Amazon Web Services here, right here. It's a data connector. Azure Active Directory, which is now Entra ID, is a data connector. All of these are data connectors. Now, Amazon Web Service, it's on its own. It's outside of Microsoft. Now, it's a data connector because I can do this, enable this. Microsoft already has this on ground, so I can enable this and then connect it to my Amazon Web Service, right? And then I can bring in logs from my Amazon and read it right inside of Sentinel. Isn't that interesting? And I can see here from the picture here, data received. If you can open connector page and drill further, you will see the amount of logs and read basically the data that you want to read. Now, in terms of data reading, right? Sentinel uses what we call KQL, which is the Gusto query language Azure uses basically. So let's say for logs, you want to query logs. You use the KQL to query logs. And if you understand KQL quite well, there are levels or ways you can tweak it to bring in the logs to bring you what you want to see. Right. Apart from that, you use what we call workbooks. Now, workbooks as well, like you see, helps you to give you a visual representation. Let's say you're finding it difficult to read logs. Workbooks helps you to visualize whatever you're trying to read. It comes with like a readable thing, the human readable form, basically readable form. It can come in the form of charts, graph, so you can see it clearly where you need to pay more attention or where you're getting more data from. So these are like some of the key features that Sentinel users, and trust me, they are really interesting features, really, really interesting ones. Now we've explained data connector that you can see here, data collection. So it has a whole lot of endpoints where you can get data from. So you can see here, if you have checkpoint firewall, you have your Palo Alto, you have your SQL, DNS, just mention it as a case, maybe you have it. So long as it's inside of Sentinel, you can pick it here and then do the necessary connection, Cisco, ASA. You can connect it to your environment and then pull in the logs that you need. And yeah, voila, you have it right in Sentinel and you can read it. So this is more like the charts of logs, the overview. So you can come to your board. So before going into any of them, now if you want to just come into Sentinel for the first time, you've had all the setup done, you can basically come to an overview and it gives you like an overview monitoring board. It tells you to tell you the amount of alerts you have, the common security ones, the syslog, and also gives you events. Now you can see events, you can see alerts, you can see incidents. So it's helping you. In this case, you're seeing 11.3 million events happening. You can see alerts, you can see incidents. So from here, you can tell the structure of what I have. You can tell the structure of what is happening in your environment. You can see that, yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. And don't be surprised or don't be shocked because you will go down and you find everything. Or better still, you can see all those things and become afraid of the event. But trust me, it's easy to query and easy to find out what is wrong in your environment, right? So when I was talking about querying, I mentioned about KQL. Now, it uses Sentinel uses what we call the Log Analytics Workspace. Now, Log Analytics Workspace is what holds your logs. So let's say you have a checkpoint firewall, you have a FortiGate or so forth. Yeah. So it's bringing in its logs and it's storing it inside the Log Analytics Workspace. Now, Log Analytics Workspace is more like stands as a medium of transportation of carrying logs from your other environments to Sentinel, and at the same time serves as a log manager or log hosting or data hosting or data manager. So it's where you can query from, right? So you can decide if you're familiar with KQL, the Gusto query language, you can decide to come here and query. Now, the thing about Microsoft is they know that not everyone can know KQL. Not everyone knows the Gusto query language. Now, Microsoft, they decided to give you a pre-built query. Now, if you come here, you can see all here. These are queries for different things you have in your environment. If you want query for behavioral analytics, insights, cybersecurity, all those on DNS analytics, all you need to do is click on it and run it. And then it gives you answers, it gives you all the results that you want. You can see results coming in. You can decide to view it in the charts. And again, you can filter them to the time range that you want to see. When you run them, you can save it, you can copy it, you can export it, you can create a new alert rule. So it makes everything quite seamless for you, really. It makes it work for you. It makes it very easy for you to use. So when you come to Sentinel or any other Microsoft security, do not panic. It's very easy to use. Well, this has come to my end of my Sentinel cloud security presentation. And if you have any questions, please do where to ask and we will answer you accordingly. Thank you.